Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Suzanne and Sarah Real Estate Investing Podcast. We are your hosts, Suzanne
and Sarah.
And we have our guest, Landon Moore, who is not my relation, but we share an awesome last name.
We probably have family somewhere.
Because we both like making more money.
And
more deals, more money. More deals.
That's right.
And more is always better.
Oh.
So we're here to hear from Landon Moore about his journey in creative financing, seller financing, buying subject to, and all the good and the challenges and everything in between.
Yeah. And this episode is extra special because this is our very first interview where we're doing something besides talking to someone.
That's exciting.
Besides ourselves.
That's super exciting. I'm honored. Thank you guys for having me here. Genuinely. Yeah. I'm looking forward to this. It's fun.
Yeah. Not just a how-to episode today. We are also going to talk about the emotional side of real estate in addition to all the things that come with doing creative deals. And I feel like the relationships are really a big part of it.
It's a huge part of it. I was on a Zoom this morning. I do a Zoom every Tuesday, 9 to 11 a.m., where we're primarily calling sellers, calling agents, and doing deals, like honestly doing deals with live in this small group. And I always ask the question, when we get started, is like, what is the number one reason I'm calling this agent, a real estate agent? What's number one? It has nothing to do with the listing.
Yep.
It has everything to do with the relationship. And I'm building these relationships. And I made the example, I go, you guys, I'm going to call this agent today. I called a listing over in Springfield, Oregon, so not too far from here. And the listing was pending. And I go, how many people in this Zoom would scroll past that listing? And it was 90% of the people that are like, we lost. That was the mindset. We lost because it's pending. They're like, it's done. I can't tell you how many deals I have done on pending listings that have fallen out because of inspection, because of financing, because of appraisals, because my wife didn't like the cabinet colors, like something, right? And so you call and simply ask the question, build a relationship, because I'm using the address simply as an excuse to have a conversation with an agent. So case in point. So I called this one today. We originally, her tone was very like, yeah, it's pending. She was trying to brush me off, right? And afterwards, I was like, how confident are you this is going to close? She then opens up and shares that we're going through the assumption process right now on a loan, and we haven't been assigned a loan officer, and it's been 25 days and all these different things. And then we got to like live together in the world of pain of an assumption lasting 90, 120 days. And then I go, okay, cool. Yeah, that reminds me of a deal I just did, blah, blah, blah. I did an informal assumption or subject to, and we get to talk a little bit more about that. And then we proceeded for 25 minutes to talk about two other listings that she has, one of which is in Roseburg that she has listed for 413 days right now. It's listed for $200,000. And the offer on the table, she says, is $110,000, and gave me the playbook of, if you can beat this, it's yours. And it's more a cash deal. It's not creative, but it's all about the relationships, because you have no idea what can spurn out. And so I always say, use that listing as an excuse to talk to that agent. Don't worry about the listing. Maybe that is a byproduct. I feel like I've done more deals with the agents on listings that we don't even talk about until we get on the phone call.
I think that's really interesting that you, like, in my mind, like, it is, I would have been a waste of time to call a pending listing in my mind, but I see that you're prioritizing it with.
It totally makes sense. It makes sense, like, logically thinking about that, but in the inverse, like, everyone thinks that way.
Yeah.
So immediately you're outdoing the competition because they're not willing to do the thing. So that's my whole theory behind it. No doubt, 9 out of 10 are good to go.
Yeah.
But again, my purpose, my goal, my vision is not about that property. To build a relationship with that agent for the next deal, the next property.
That's a great lead. That's a great way to get that explanation.
100%. Now, like, I have, what's cool is I look at that again, relationship. So now, how many times do you have to do that? How many relationships do you need in your local market with agents, boots on the ground, rock stars, as I say, that will bring you more deals, more opportunities, like, that are actively thinking of you? In that same Zoom, I shared my phone. I got a text from an agent over in Vancouver, Washington, that her name is Megan, and she texted me and brought up her personal residence she's trying to sell, and goes, hey, I remember you mentioning something about a sober living property and what you were going to do. What do you think about doing this on my property? The biggest lesson there is, like, I was memorable enough for her from the stories I told to build a relationship that she trusted me enough to text me about her own personal residence. So for me, it's all relationships. That is all I care about, is how many relationships can I build of quality that are going to, like, fruitfully, like, I just need boots on the ground everywhere that are bringing me inbound opportunities. That's it.
Yeah. So people are calling you instead of you dialing. So let's just back up a little bit.
Sorry. Yeah.
No,
okay.
it's okay. I know you love to jump
I
right in.
love-
We've got a lot of people that may not know you and your story. So I think, I was asking you last week at our power hour here, just to walk us through your journey, when you got started, how long it's taken you to build, how you went from a solo investor to building a team. And I think also just to give people some inspiration that it doesn't have to take a decade to do
No,
this.
it doesn't. It definitely doesn't. What's tough too is like you see the Instagrams, you see the Facebooks and what people are doing and who they become and the following, and you think it's instantaneous and you go and try and fail, but it's so parabolic in that it takes time and then it eventually starts to cascade up. And so my story really, I would argue, began, I'm an only child and
Me too.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Makes sense. It makes complete sense. More is more.
Less is more.
Less is more. That's right. That's what
I
I
was gonna argue with
technically.
that earlier, but I just let that go. It's fine.
I technically have a half sister, but she's like 12 years older than me. We never lived together. Funny enough, side story, here's the tangents, right? I'm actually buying her a sub 2 right now in Ridgefield, Washington.
Yeah, you should have said
Yep,
last
yep.
week.
I'm going to buy that for her. She's going to move into it and lease it from me. We're going to share an LLC so that in a year's time, I'm actually going to remove myself from the LLC and it's going to be all hers. So her first investment, it's a 3.25% interest rate, like killer deal. Anyway, for me, it all really began, like I went off to college and my ceiling, my vision of what success was truly to get out of some type of laborious job. So my father worked in construction and dug ditches, worked excavators and all those things. And I used to work with him on the summers and out in Sun River here locally, out at Caldera Springs. He was a part of that who built that golf course. And I would help dig those ditches and lay the pipe and all the things. And it's always stuck with me is he shared with me, Landon, you want to be the guy in the white hard hat, right? And so as an only child, he's my only circle of what is success. I don't see it elsewhere, right? We have friends and whatnot that do different things, but like relatability is my father's it. And so he says, you want to be the guy in the white hard hat. And I go, why, Dad? He goes, that's the guy telling me where to dig and how deep. Okay. And so from looking back on that now, that was his ceiling. That was what success was to him, of the guy who was still out there doing the thing, but telling him where to dig. And it's super interesting now, fast forward, I went off to college, got my engineering degree to where now I am what you would call a consulting engineer, telling everyone where to put the HVAC equipment on the roof and the condensing units and the dehumidification units and the grills and all the things, telling the people like my dad where to install it.
You fulfilled your dad's prophecy.
I fulfilled his ceiling, but then I achieved it. And it's interesting. There's a whole psychological thing, I think, here, but I achieved it, but it wasn't fulfilling for me. One, two, it didn't give me the gratification of success, of financial freedom, and all these things that I wanted to do with my life beyond what he had for his life. And
because you were still trading your time for money.
Trading my time for money. And so I was looking at that and I'm like, this isn't a lifelong. There's people that retire doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And they slave away at their life and they do these things. And same with my wife. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And they stay in the same job because they're afraid of getting a new manager. And anyways. And my wife graduated with her nursing degree. She was a labor and delivery nurse. So in the world of society, like I'm an engineer, my wife's a labor and delivery nurse. We have two very white collar, like we did it jobs. And we just bought our first house in 2018, I think it was. Yeah, 2018 in Phoenix, Arizona. And there was a level of like when I would come home from work, just unfulfilled. Is this what my days truly amount to? I've always been a learner. I've always been a grower, like wanting to learn more and educated in that sense. And so I'm like, seeing other people of my age group succeed more and do more, go on trips and buy these cool houses. And I'm like, what am I doing different? I feel like I've done everything right. That's what my dad told me to do. And I'm like, okay, cool. For 20 years, I got a little bit of what do they call the millennial impatience? Like I just want instant gratification. Yeah. And I did what I knew, which is to go educate. And so where that turned was podcasts, books, audiobooks. So every night, I remember my wife worked 12-hour shifts, so she wouldn't come home until 6:30, 7 o'clock. I'd be off work by 4, home by 4:30. So I'd have 2.5 hours to do whatever I wanted, right? And I would every night go down to the local community pool and hot tub and read a book and go down there. And that was every single night that she worked. And eventually that spurned into podcasts and finding bigger pockets and like realizing, like buying into the idea that millionaires own real estate. That was the first buy-in. And then there was levels of, in my search for who I was and fulfillment and all these things, of realizing consistency truly compounds. Because if I'm consistent at that thing, be at the gym, if I'm consistent every day, every week, every month, every year, eventually I'm guaranteed success. And so I heard a quote early on. It was like, same thing with real estate. It's like, you only fail when you quit. And so it was a matter of, I just simply will not quit. And so I bought into that, kept reading books, kept listening to podcasts. And it took me a long time to truly take any true action. It was more consumption. And I fell into that trap. It was until I went to my first real estate meetup. I Googled, does anyone else do this? Basically. And I found a real estate meetup like maybe 3 miles away. And I committed to going. I signed up for the little Eventbrite or whatever it was, meetup.com. And going to that was the most trepidatious feeling in my friggin' world. I'm like, I provide no value. I've listened to a lot of podcasts, so I'm going to sound like a dork when I bring up these like 1% rules and all these different things that they're like not practicing. And I went there and I met an amazing group, an amazing community of people. And it was like really cool. It was like different from my normal regular people. And so I was like charged, and it just motivated me to go again, keep going. And then the meetup wasn't for another month. And so 30 days go by of just consuming back into that same groove again. That meetup was coming again, and I got that same feeling again. And luckily my wife prodded me to go because she mentioned how much I felt afterwards. And also too, it was now at that point, I'm like, okay, cool. This is something that I need to be consistent of. It's what I fear. I need to push into it. And so I pushed further into it and made great friends that I've done deals with through now. And that was really the starting place to where that pushed me to do really our first deal. And our first deal was like very basic. It was a cash out refinance on our first primary home, use that as a down payment for our next purchase, turn that into a long-term rental. Very much like boilerplate, like what you do. And that was the starting place. That was the first like risk, the first step, if you will, towards real estate investing. That led to an Airbnb, turning the whole property into an Airbnb and really buying in and having an aha moment and committing to, this is the path to financial freedom, but more importantly, fulfillment in me. And it wasn't until maybe that was 2018, 2019, 2020. It wasn't until 2023 when I truly began to see the true vision, which is to serve and help others in finding their vision and serving them and trying to figure out what they want, and realizing that not only if I can help them get what they want in 10x tenfold, I'm going to receive everything that I need in fulfillment and helping others. That's ultimately my vision of what I want to do, is helping others. This is why I do the meetups and all those things, is as a byproduct, I'm going to get everything and more that I want out of it. And so from then on, it's been my goal to do meetups and do Zooms and offer lives. Like last week I did a Zoom right before a meetup. I sat in the conference room here with a gal in Montana who was completely skeptical, but yet 5 messages prior was asking me, how do you do what you do? How do you summer in Oregon and with your family and all these things? And when brought up on, I'm like, I want to chat with you. Let's have a conversation of what this really looks like so you can get a better idea, just to genuinely help her. And so the vision has changed from like achieving financial freedom to truly serving and helping others. And as a byproduct, I'm going to serve and help myself.
Wow. That is that's really noble, but I'm sure there was a process to get there, right? Like you have to get your foundation set first so that you can begin helping
others. It's a whole journey. Like entrepreneurship, real estate investing, whatever, business buying, whatever, is, I think, is the greatest personal growth vehicle out there, because it forces my mindset to shift and flex and mold, learning how to delegate, learning how to shift what matters more. And that's been the biggest change too, is realizing what I do value, what I don't value, who I am and who I am not. And like the journey to there, it wasn't straight. It's dirty. It's messy. I had no idea. I still don't no clue what I'm doing. I'm figuring it out as I go. Every day is a new journey. We're on the right path and we're doing the things if we remain consistent, but it's still like this whole process of figuring out more ways that I can serve. And that's the mindset I put towards things. Like, how can I serve more? Is it more meetups? Is it more Zooms? Is it how can I help the community more?
So just give us a quick like timeline of, okay, you were reading by the pool through 2020. And then when did you start paying someone for expertise? Yeah,
great question. So I certainly had I would say like a financial trauma from my childhood of not growing up in the wealthiest conditions, by no means, definitely not poor, but just like moreover watching a car get repossessed in my front yard while I'm playing, like very much paycheck to paycheck and like bad debt and all these things. So I had this trauma. And so I have such a reluctancy to spend money to invest in me. It's funny, going off to get a college degree, it doesn't feel like I'm doing that. I'm getting a loan and it's anyway. I remember, so 2018, bought my first house, no clue what an interest rate was when I bought the house. And then in 2020, did the catch out refinance, purchased the next property. And then 2021, partnered with someone to purchase another short-term rental in Arizona, as well as then 2 months later, purchased another primary home, turned that into a short-term rental, just rednecking it. My wife, that 3-year period, my wife hated me because there was zero, where she comes from a place of stabilization. We're moving house to house. And she's like, this is not the life I signed up for at all. And
Discomfort there.
oh my gosh, so much abrasion. Yeah. And so that's all going on. So we buy all these homes, right? We have 4 properties by then. It's now 2022. And I realize I'm broke. I have no more money to put as what I've been doing, traditional financing, putting 10, 15, 20% down payments on these properties. So now I'm like, I got to wait until my cash flow from these Airbnbs mount up. Okay, probably a year to do it again. So I just got to chill and just educate more, back into the education bucket.
Yep.
And that's where I learned about the idea of, I knew the concept of using other people's money, but I'm like, I have no idea what that means. I have no clue how to like structure that or anything. And I'd found an Instagram or YouTube video about buying real estate, leveraging someone else's debt and using other people's money to purchase it, so on and so forth. And so in January of 2023, we had, my daughter was like 3 months old at the time. I made the commitment. I was standing in the bathroom of our primary house, in the primary bedroom. And I made the decision, standing right there with my wife, oh, hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to commit to this. And I remember in the back of my mind, I go, shit. It's a $10,000 bill. My goal, I never told her this, but I was like, my goal is I want to at least earn enough that it's a wash. Like at least I earned back my investment. That was like the scarcity mindset right here, right? And in that time period, again, back into the groove of educate. So I'm just consuming. And at that point I've committed. So I'm all in on like understanding this mechanism and these things. I did 2 small lending deals, transactional lending deals for earnest money deposits, and earned back $10,000 on the dollar. So I earned back everything within the first 3 months. And I was like, okay, we did it, right? We're back. But I still had yet to do a real estate deal. So there was the level of, okay, what's the next thing? And it took me like 6 months after joining that community and investing into myself to do my first subject to deal. I still own that property today in Vancouver, Washington. It's a long-term rental, so 3% interest rate. We just renewed the lease here 2 months ago for those tenants. I've never made a payment on that property ever. We had them locked up and moved in the day before close of escrow. It's a perfect little deal.
Nice.
And
That was June 2023
that was
when you did your first sub 2 deal.
yeah, into May, but yeah.
And we're recording this in July 2025.
Yeah, so 2 years now. And since then, I mean, it's been a snowball gangbusters of so many different things. I've done 100 plus creative transactions, seller finance, subject to a bunch of lending deals, all sorts of things, to where now we're sitting here right now. Last week was a $65,000 a week of assignments, so wholesales of creative transactions, as well as a property we sold on the MLS. And we have 5 more properties in escrow right now. I just closed on another duplex here locally in Bend. That's a 3.25% interest rate, subject to seller finance deal. And I have a bunch of money out on private money lending. So it's completely evolved and grown, but it's taken truly 5 years from the infancy to where I'm at now of just consistent 1% every single day.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you're not doing it alone. I want to talk about the evolution of your team.
Yes.
Totally. And so that's a huge mindset thing there. For me, like knowing more about me as a visionary of like always thinking of what's next and like building out this thing of whatever it is, I've always thought about, you can go a certain distance alone, but if you want to go far, you got to go with others. The how to do that properly without getting burned, how to do
Or
that
burned out.
because I did. So I made a mistake. Here you go. Here's a small little story. So you love my small little stories because they're not a small little story.
Whatever.
One of my properties. So let me back up. So I host that Zoom. I've been hosting it since that May of that in 2023. I've been hosting that Zoom consistently, right? And at the time I had a co-host, and there was nothing in place of, hey, we're partners, or we have a joint venture agreement, or anything to like formally marialize like us. And so it was just, we should do some stuff together sometime. Prior to any of these communities or even meeting him, whatever, I've always had this ambition of having a house in Montana. I've always had it, like before anyways. And so I'm doing my thing. And offline, I call this agent Chelsea in Montana and put a deal together. It's a 2.5% sub two. It's an Airbnb that's in my portfolio today. We just spent a few weeks there here at the early part of June. And I put this deal together. I opened escrow, doing all the things, and I get a week before closing on this, and I already have it all lined up. I already have the furniture ordered, I already shipped, I'm freaking ready to roll. And I get a call from my co-host on that Zoom, and he goes, "Hey, what are we doing with that Montana property?" And it was very much in that moment. At the time, I didn't know. I was like, "Oh crap, tail between my legs. Should have communicated better. 100% upfront, whatever. Shame on me for that. Definitely shame on him for expecting that, whatever, blah, 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 whatever." And that was the start of the fallout of that relationship. But now looking back, what it taught me is we were two of the same exact visionary people. And those do not work well together because they're out doing the same thing. We never really coexist in terms of helping each other's yin yang. Very much the same thing.
You got to complement each other.
You do.
Yeah.
And so I still own a property with him. That first property we did, we own it together right now. And so I learned in that moment, like, what doesn't make a good partner and a good relationship in business. And so from that moment, I took some mental notes and started to really introspectively look at what am I best at? What am I really good at? And what do I hate doing? Or what am I just not great at? That is a time suck for me that I could delegate. And it was in September of 2023. I had done 12 or 15 deals by this time. I was humming, doing my thing. And that's a whole story in itself. But like towards September, I realized, like, if I want to go far and I turn this thing into a machine, I cannot do it alone. I need a cohort. And ended up finding my still to this day business partner, ex-Google engineer. He's retired from his W-2 at Google here last year. And he is the yin to my yang to every degree. He's a person that will stay up until 3 a.m. working on things, whereas I will wake up at 3 a.m. I'm going to bed at 8, like every night. Like we are so much that. And everything, he sets up our entire CRM system, our entire AI caller, every single aspect of the systems aspect. I'm the guy that puts the voice memo in his inbox of, "Hey, I'm thinking about this idea, doing this or whatever. What do you think about this?" And I wake up in the morning and it's either started or it's done. So that was the person, and that was the infancy of a partnership. And it didn't start out that way. It was very much dating. We operated in 2 different LLCs, so 2 different entities entirely on our purchase contracts. We had 2. It was never just us together. We didn't get one LLC of like marriage until January of that following year. So it still was like, we're still testing each other out. Let's do this the right way. Take me to dinner first. And then we hired our first, what we would call acquisition specialist in October. We realized that we needed cold callers on our team. We needed people who can do the grunt work that have 8 hours a day to just rip the phones. And that's for the next 2 years, let's say, the evolution has been an open door from that. We've went through a bunch of different people. We have a stable force now that have been with us for over 1.5 years, where we have 6 acquisition specialists today. And those guys and girls are out there handling all inbound JV requests that I receive on the website that we have, as well as all outbound, be it on market, off market, PPC, PPL, anything. And they're handling the front end of the deals. And then more recently, we shifted one of the acquisition specialists into a disposition specialist. Now that person's sole job is to go out and find the buyers of our deals that our acquisition team puts together. And so now, if you think about the makeup, we've put all the right pieces. So we've delegated a lot of the front end acquisition strategy, the disposition strategy. And so really now we have a transaction coordinator. So we're now at a place where I'm not a cog in the wheel to keep this motor going. Now I'm more of like an orchestrator to what are some new lead pipelines we should focus on, or what are some marketing tactics we can do to enhance our inbound lead requests or relationships with agents and whatnot. And so that's how the team has evolved and grown from there. And out of that, I've built amazing relationships with both Chris, my business partner, and Daniela Devine, who is or was, as of last week, our transaction coordinator, who, as of now, we just purchased a business together. So all 3 of us just acquired a business in San Francisco, a commercial flooring business. And so now we're changing our transaction coordinator system and everything because her role has evolved and grown. We're in a position where she's evolved out of that and we're replacing those pieces. So that's the makeup right now.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah,
It's always evolution.
Yeah, and real estate is
stops.
such an amazing business in that there is no ceiling, right? We're only limited by our own amount of time, and like having a team and keep bringing people onto the team makes it so there is no ceiling.
Exactly. And so that there's an abundant amount of time.
Also
to
too,
keep
like what I
strategizing.
love too that I think about is like I was trying to find the derivative. So meaning this is my engineering brain coming out right now. I was trying to think of the derivative. So yes, I have 6 acquisition specialists on my team, plus then a disposition specialist. But what's behind that curtain? There's wives, there's husbands, there's children. And so the actions that I take every day for our team, on behalf of our team, isn't simply putting money in their pocket to go buy a Lamborghini. It's to put food on the table or enroll his daughter into a swimming class. So it's bigger beyond just the people on my team as employees. It's a family. And so it's more than just 7 people. It's actually 14 to 20, depending on how many kids they have. And that's the vision too, is like thinking bigger than just you are just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's like you're actually a family, and I'm feeding your wife, and I'm feeding, and so on and so
Well,
forth.
how is that really playing in though? Is that really just like a mindset thing
It's
for you?
purely
Yeah,
mindset.
and just like how you show up.
100% how I show up and how I go and approach certain things that maybe I don't want to do. And so it gets me through certain moments of adversity, let's say, and ensuring that I can get a deal done. Like for instance, there was a deal we did in St. Augustine, Florida, here, call it 4 months ago, where it was brought to me from one of those, Chelsea, the agent in Montana. Okay. She brought me this deal and
In Florida.
in Florida. She moved to Florida. She bought a house, seller finance down there.
Ah,
Okay.
okay.
So
Because you
we
helped
got a
her?
whole little thing going on, and she's awesome. But she brought me a client who's behind on a couple payments and so on and so forth, whatever. And I go, totally, this is a great deal. 4.5% interest rate, subject to blah, 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 blah. The entry on this deal, so like the down payment to buy this house was $1,000 to the seller, $5,000 to the agent, plus closing costs. So we're talking 12 grand to buy a home. Pretty crazy. And at the time, my previous disposition specialist, I noticed that it was like 3 or 4 days and I hadn't seen any marketing materials go out for that deal. Okay. And so I'm like, that's odd. That's interesting. I wonder, he's been at every team meeting, like he's involved. It's not as if he's on vacation or something. And so I asked him, and his response was, oh, I wouldn't buy this deal, so I'm not going to market this deal. Okay. So obviously red flag. We moved on from him. But more importantly, that in that moment, you know what I thought about? I thought about that $5,000 that's going to Chelsea is feeding her 3 kids who are 15, 16, 17. That $5,000 is feeding her who just moved into a new house and probably is making that next mortgage payment for her. And so I have an obligation and a duty and a word that I told her I could get this thing done. I need to get this done. And then beyond that too is I get a $10,000 assignment for my team out of that. And that's going to feed both Chris, who just quit his W-2, as well as my new disposition specialist we brought in. It's going to feed him. He just got married. I went to his wedding. Like all those little things you start adding up. And so for me, that is where I look at the derivative beyond just the money. It's like, well, how does this truly help and affect my team members? It's interesting. It's different, but it helps push through moments where you're like, doing it simply for me is not enough. And so that's the thought.
It sounds like a lot of added pressure and stress.
Oh yeah. Nonstop. I had a breakdown 2 days ago.
No, we call those breakthroughs.
It will be. It's a
We
rubber
call
band.
those
It's a rubber band.
breakthroughs.
This is exactly what it was. Oh yeah, I'll go through it.